Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us for another episode of Ask the Expert North Texas. I'm Kristin Diaz, joined by Homeira Hesami. She is the president of the Iranian American Community of Texas, joining us today to kind of give us an update and educate us about what is happening right now in Iran. Homeira, there are a lot of headlines right now. There's a lot of rioting and protests that are happening there in the country. Why is this happening?
Hi, Kristin, and thanks for having me on your program, and hi to all your audience. If I want to go back, to just this current uprising that we see, we should go back to, January, September 16 or so, if I go back. So there was this girl that was arrested by the morality police. I know that concept of morality police is kind of unknown to your audience, but these are the security forces that they try to make sure women are covering their hair and they have a good attire according to the government's or the regime's guidelines. So this girl was arrested, and in a matter of few hours, she was transferred to the hospital with coma. So she died on that Friday, almost a month ago. So we're 14 right now. On September 16, she died. So the whole protest started following her death, and it kind of quickly made it, to all cities. And right now, we're pretty much all provinces in Iran are involved. More than 186 or something, the latest updates I had. But if we really go back a few years ago, or even just decades ago, the Iranian people, especially women, they never wanted the government, the current government. So from the beginning, all people were protesting against the government. But of course, the regime had its upper hand and suppressed people. In 80s, there were mass killing. In 1988, there were over 30,000 political prisoners inside prisons in Iran that they were all executed with the decree of Khomeini, the previous supreme leader of Iran. So I'm just trying to tell you that there's been resistance going on for the past decades from just the inception of the regime. If we go to 2017, we had large uprisings widespread all over the country. And same thing in 2018. And then in November of 2019, which was really, really bad, over the matter of 1 week, the regime killed 1,500 of the protesters. So it's been going on. And if we look at the whole history, we see that the intensity of these uprisings are, they're getting higher and higher, and the frequency getting more and more. So we are getting to the revolution that we were expecting, and now we are inside that one. So the brutal killing of Mahsa Amini, this lady, it was just ignited the whole situation inside.
It was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. Mahsa Amini was only 22 years old. And with her being so young, the younger generation is really rallying behind receiving justice for her death. They want somebody to, take responsibility of this. It seems like. Tell me about how the younger generation is now taking over this revolution.
The younger generation, of course, they are introduced to internet, so they can communicate, they can organize themselves, and those are the people, especially women, are leading, this. So this is really, it's not surprising to us. As I told you, the resistance has been going on. And the leader of the resistance, the main Iranian opposition group, is a woman. So that by itself tells me that her leadership has inspired people inside Iran, and especially women. So the fact that even schoolgirls, university students, and the people in general, are on the streets against this regime, that tells us that the people don't want the regime in its entirety. It's not just a matter of like hijab, or like they want to reform the regime, or they want to have like this faction of the regime or that faction of the regime. No, it's not that. People in Iran want regime change, and the youth, they have realized that they don't have any future with the current regime in Iran. So that's why they are on the streets, and they're trying to get their goal of freedom and democracy.
Absolutely. So we have a lot of Iranian Americans. Your organization has it right in the title. So many people who are looking for ways to help or support those that are trying to fight for justice and, as you mentioned, democracy. How do people here in the United States do that?
First of all, is like, educating people. What you're doing is great, because first of all, people need to know what's going on, and the fact that people don't want the regime. So that's one thing. So we have to advocate for regime change. We have to, we can write to our representatives to help Iranian people recognize their rights, their right to self-defense. Because the regime is a brutal regime. It's going to kill, it's already out there with the machine guns, with the heavy weaponry, to kill people. So it's important that, we recognize the right of people for self-defense. And also we can advocate for free internet, because what the regime does, it cuts down the communication by shutting down the internet or slowing it down. And so that's important that we have, we can advocate for that one to help Iranian people communicate. And as you mentioned, we had our own rally like a couple of weeks ago, and there are other groups that there are Iranians, there are other people who are on the streets trying to get the attention to this and support Iranian people. So we're going to be joining them. There's, as a matter of fact, I think tomorrow there's a rally again organized by some other groups. So it's good to be out there and advocate for what people, Iranian people want, especially women. So we're looking forward to have free Iran, after this revolution is over.
Thank you so much for your time today and for educating us a little bit more about what's going on. This is still a very, as we like to say in the news world, an active situation, right? This is still developing. There are still protests and riots that are happening in Iran. So I'd like to keep in contact with you as things develop and get another update soon. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure. And I just, if I may add, is something that, I was old enough to see the previous revolution in 1979. And I can see a lot of similarities. People back then, they were revolting against the Shah, another dictator. Mm-hmm. And so I can see that Khamenei, the supreme leader, comes in and tries to other members of the regime come and try to cajole the people and try to appease them, but people are not going to accept that. So people are going to revolt this dictator, the same thing they did with the Shah's dictator. I appreciate your time, Kristin.
Homeira Hesami, thank you so much. We appreciate it.